Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a super exciting video, and that is 15 cardigan patterns that I think you should knit right now. I decided to do this video because right now we're in summer. A lot of people are knitting tops, usually on quite small size needles like 3 or 3.5 millimeters. And whilst I think that's all a lot of fun, in my opinion summer is quite a short period of time. I feel like the tops may not get worn as much as a sweater for me personally, living in the Netherlands. And cardigans are something that you can literally wear in the summer, winter, fall, just throughout the entire year. So I think it's one of the best items to knit, and that's why I'm going to dedicate this entire video about it. Now, the 15 patterns that I've chosen, they go from lace to worsted weight. I didn't choose any bulky weight patterns, just because those are not really practical in my opinion, and I don't really like knitting those. So maybe you also don't like knitting super bulky patterns. Then I believe there are also 2 free patterns in this list, and the other ones are all paid for patterns, and they are all in English. That's all the information I have for you, and let's get started with number 1. The first cardigan is a lace weight yarn. It is done with 2 lace weight yarns together on 4mm needles. It is seamless, bottom up, and it features this really nice brioche stitch, but also with some eyelets and lace. It says it's charted. I cannot find the price of this pattern right now, but I think you have to go on their website. So that is the first cardigan that I have. I chose this because I think the design is very beautiful. It really reminds me of Cezanne, and the cardigan just looks very store-bought, which I really like. The next cardigan is also a lace weight cardigan. So it's also done with 2 lace weight yarns held together, 2 drops, one drops kid silk and then one from Lana Grossa, also a kid silk I assume. The pattern you can buy for €7 and it's knit on 4.5mm, so that's quite a nice size. It's by Madame Favel Knits and it's called the Frill Cardigan because it has some frills on the front. It has an optional belt, if that's your thing, and also just some bubbles and lace on the front. Really cute. I really like this cardigan design. I don't think it's something that I would personally wear, but I do think it's a really nice design. You can also maybe knit this just in some fingering with yarn, with like a silk mohair, something like that I think could also be nice. Then we have cardigan pattern number 3, and now we go into fingering weight yarns. This is the Multnomah Falls, maybe I should just not pronounce the names of the cardigans. I will put them on the screen. It's this cardigan and it's all over cables with some eyelets, it seems. It's knit on 3.75mm needles. Actually, it has a lot of sizes. I didn't really see. The other ones are not as inclusive, but this one has a really wide range of sizes. It goes from extra small to a 5XL, and it's from Knit for the Soul. You can buy the pattern for €9, so a little bit more expensive I would say, but it is done with just 1 fingering yarn held single, which is really nice, especially if you use like a hand-dyed yarn. Cardigan pattern number 4 is the Minou Cardigan. I feel like this one is a little bit more well known because I do see it on my Ravelry feed sometimes, and there's also a top being tested right now. So when that one is released, how fun would it be to have like a matching set? I think that would be really nice. This pattern is a little bit more affordable. You can buy it for €6.50. It's knit on 4mm needles. Really nice. I just love 4 and 5mm needles. I think it's a sweet needle size spot. It's knit in Knitting for Olive, which is a fingering weight yarn held together with Lana Grossa Seta Suri, one of my favorite yarns, just a tad expensive in my opinion. So a fingering and a lace weight yarn. And It's a brioche cardigan that then has some cables around it. So it does seem like a more challenging knit, more for the probably like intermediate knitter, which honestly most of these patterns are, because I just like to have a little bit of interest. I don't really like just like plain cardigans. I should have said that in the beginning, but all of these patterns are more for advanced or intermediate knitters. It does not fit anything from petite knit or big designers like My Favorite Things Knitwear. I think we all have seen those patterns plenty of times, and like I said, I just like some lace, eyelets, cables, brioche, just something to make it look a little bit more interesting and make the knitting process more fun, in my opinion. The next pattern is from Biches Buches. I've never knit with any of their yarns. I also never have used any of their patterns, but this one has been on my list for quite some time. The only thing that seems a little bit daunting to me is that it's knit on 3.5mm needles. Lately I have been knitting some garments on smaller size needles, so I think I could manage, but still it's kind of holding me back. But the design is really lovely. It is just really nice, big and oversized. I think it's a very elegant design, and then it has some diamond lace just going that way and really big sleeves. Honestly, I may have to knit this one day because I do really like it. It's knit in their Le Petit Lamb's wool, and the pattern you can buy for €6. I believe it requires like 1200 meters of yarn. And let me see for the sizes. I feel like this is going to be one of those that doesn't have a lot of sizes. So it goes from a small to a 2X. So that was another fingering weight pattern. Now we go into the DK weight patterns. This is knit from Crispin and it's called the Vogue Cardigan. You can buy this for €6.90, so €7 basically. Then it's knit on 4mm needles, and it's using a sport weight yarn together with a lace weight to create a DK weight yarn. I think if you don't like sport weight, you can probably also use a fingering weight yarn. Sport weight is honestly like a little bit weird to me. That's also why this list doesn't include any sport weight patterns, because there just aren't a lot of them. They are using the Rerum Natura Ulysses yarn, which I've looked at for quite a while. It seems like a really nice yarn company. And then they hold it together with Kamado's Midna Soul, which I'm familiar with, and I think that's also a nice yarn. The reason I chose this pattern is because the overall design is really nice. It has some stripes, but those can easily be like removed for just like a nice plain cardigan. So this is probably the most beginner friendly, I would say. Although it does feature a saddle shoulder, which personally I've never knit, but it creates a really nice construction, and then it has these poofy sleeves. Just a beautiful design with small buttons. The next DK weight pattern is from Émilie Louis, I think is her name. She is a French designer, I believe, and her patterns are actually really nice, so I would definitely check her out on Ravelry. This cardigan in particular is called Palace. You can buy the pattern for €7.30, and it's knit on 4mm needles. It is knit with 2 lace weight yarns together to create a DK weight. I think it's just like a mohair silk. This is also a more stockinette cardigan, more beginner friendly, I would say. And this is also just one of those cardigans that I think really looks like Cézanne. I think Cézanne is just such a nice brand, and their style is really effortless, French, and I think it suits a lot of different people. So that's why I really like knitting patterns that are kind of inspired by them. Maybe they don't know that it looks like Cézanne, but to me it looks like Cézanne or Another Stories. Really a store-bought type of cardigan. The next DK weight pattern is by Knits for Days, also a really nice pattern designer. And she uses a lot of drops yarn, which I really like because drops is very affordable. So it's very inclusive for a lot of people. Most people can buy it. It's knit on DK weight yarn. They use Drops Sky, which I believe is a chain yarn. I've never tried it. It's knit on 4mm needles. You can buy the pattern for €6.30, so it's definitely very affordable, the pattern as well. And I really like that it's a wrap-around cardigan. There are a lot of wrap-around cardigans going around these days. The ballerina wrap cardigan. Then there's also the elevate wrap, I believe, from My Favorite Things Knitwear. Really nice patterns, but both of them not really my thing. I think this one is a little bit more wearable, also because it's more form-fitting. It has also really nice puff sleeves. I think this is just very classic. And this one goes from sizes extra small to a 3XL. The next DK weight pattern is actually a free pattern and it's from Novita. I will share the link in the description, just because their website is like broken at the moment, so when you look for their patterns it doesn't show anything, at least for me. Maybe it works for you. But this is a really nice pattern, and do you know why it's so nice? It's because Sari Nordlund designed it, so that's just a given that it's gonna be good. Now, you have to like knitting baubles and lace, because it's all over baubles, all over lace. Like, this is the most intense bauble pattern that I've ever seen. But that's also what makes it really lovely and just a very beautiful design. It's knit with 100% wool. I believe it's a DK weight yarn. So like 4mm needles, I believe. It says that the pattern is in Finnish, but if you have on Google Chrome the automatic translation button turned on, then the pattern just appears in English. So that's a nice tip for you. Now we go into the worsted weight patterns. The first one is from Woolbird and it's called the Sorbet Cardigan. You can buy the pattern for €8 and this one has a lot of sizes. It goes from extra small to a 5X. It's knit on 5mm needles and they use Lion brand Fisherman's Wool, which I think is from the US, so I personally have never knit it and I don't really know Lion brand. What do you call this stitch pattern? I don't really know, but it definitely has like some kind of texture going on, which it makes it really nice. There's also an option for short sleeves, so that would make it very summery if you're looking for something like that. And short sleeve cardigan, it looks maybe a little bit weird, or it's not something that you think of, oh yeah, that's nice. But I have to say that their sample looks really nice and cute. The next worsted weight pattern is a little bit of a newer pattern on Ravelry. If you look at the projects page, there aren't any, so I'm quite curious to see how this one looks in different colors. But it's the Cremini cardigan from Barocco. So it uses Barocco yarn. I've also never used it. I think maybe it's also from the US. They use Barocco Talara. It's a chain yarn and worsted weight, so it's knit on 5.5mm needles. You can buy the pattern for €8, but it's an all over lace and island cardigan, which I really like. V-neck, just really cute. I'm a little bit more hesitant to knit this one just because there aren't any other people that have knit it, and I don't want to be the first at the moment. So, but it's a really nice pattern, and if you're up for it, I think it would be really nice. Then another worsted weight pattern. Worsted weight is definitely the most common, it seems. This is by Jojo Knitwear. You can buy the pattern for 55 krones. I don't know if that's Norwegian, Danish or Swedish krones. It's called the Coco Swirl Cardigan and it's one of their few English patterns. It goes from extra small to a 3XL, 4.5mm needles. I really like this cardigan and I also chose it because it has a round and a high neck. Most of the cardigan patterns that you will see have a V-neck, which is also nice, but sometimes a round neck goes with your outfit better. Then the next worsted weight pattern is from Sadness Garn. So the way Sadness Garn works is that you cannot buy their individual patterns, but you have to buy like a booklet. This is from the Sadness 2210 DIY magazine and it's called the Lulu Cable Cardigan. They are knitting it with 3 strands of mohair. They're thin silk mohair to be specific, and they knit it on 5mm needles. It goes from an extra small to a 2XL. Personally, I would not knit this in 3 strands of mohair. Quite expensive, and also I don't like mohair. But there's actually a yarn that I like to use. It's Fairy Tale from the store Alpaca. I think I showed it in a different video. It's a little bit more affordable, and then you can just use 1 strand, and they have quite a lot of colors, really nice. This pattern is with a round neck, kind of like a puffy sleeve, all over cables. I really like this one, and I would really like to knit this. I think this would also maybe work in Drops Melody or Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. Could also work, I think. Now we have only 2 more patterns to go through, and they are both Aran weight patterns. The first one is from Rowan. I've never used Rowan yarn, and I also didn't know that they did patterns, but they do. The pattern you can buy for €6 on their website, and it was called the Ursa cardigan. It is also all over cables, but then the cables kind of are like divided with some seed stitch, it appears. It is knit on 5mm needles, and the yarn that they use is Kid Classic, which is 50 grams for 140 meters. I think this yarn can easily be replaced by another Aran weight yarn. It is a longer length cardigan, so I think this is the only longer cardigan that I featured. I would probably make it cropped if I were to knit it, but the longer length is also nice. It seems like a very nice cardigan to just wear at home. And then the final Aran weight cardigan is from Filcolana, so it's a free pattern. It's knit in Filcolana Peruvian wool, I believe. This cardigan is called the Crispin cardigan. I really like that they have it in lots of different languages. This cardigan is called the Crispin cardigan. It has sizes S to XL, and it's knit in Peruvian from Filcolana, which is, I would say, like a decent yarn. It's not my favorite yarn, but they do have nice colors. And it's 100% wool. It's knit on 5mm needles. Then it is a V-neck cardigan, and it has like a textured pattern going on. And like I said, it's a free pattern, so that's always really nice. You can just look at the pattern and see if it's for you or not. Honestly, I have had in the past that I bought a pattern and then I didn't know that, for example, it didn't have short rows, and then I ended up not knitting it. I hope you like those 15 patterns that I've picked out for you, and let me know if you're planning on knitting any of them. I really like all of these cardigans, and it's actually really nice also for myself that I kind of categorize them like this for myself, also with all the yarn weights. If you don't like any of these cardigans, I would definitely recommend making lists like this for yourself, just because then if you find like a yarn that you like, you can just look in your little list and see, oh, I can knit that pattern. So very convenient actually. I will see you guys in my next video, which will, I believe, be a knitting case sewing tutorial. So if that's something that you're into, I would subscribe to my channel so that you can see that I posted it. And yeah, see you then. Bye bye!